So last week, I had a lesson with a mid-handicap golfer that was unbelievable for the distance pickup with his irons. So he'd set up over the golf ball, and I'll actually pop his numbers up. And it was a decent looking golf swing, but it curved over to the right, and you could see the total with 7-iron was 103 yards. But by the end of the lesson, and we worked on something that he'd never ever considered, with pretty similar swing speed, we got him hitting 7-iron over 50 yards further. Now, like a lot of golfers, he kind of felt he'd plateaued with his golf a little bit, and I think the big challenge was that when he came in to see me, he said, I've tried absolutely everything, but I still can't get rid of this really weak left to right shot. He said, and I know that it's my swing path that's killing me, but I just don't seem to be able to fix it. Now, comment below if you're one of those golfers who knows you're over the top, out to win, and you just can't fix it. Now, the problem is the one thing he'd never actually fixed was that club face. So even though he thought his club face was from a nice square position at address, he was thinking he was there at impact, but in fact, that club face was wide open, and that's really what was causing a lot of that out to in to try and get the ball setting off straight. Now, even though we chatted about that, he kind of didn't really believe me. So I said, right, what we're going to do is we're going to get you to make your normal swing, but I want you to try and feel like you're going to swing the club over to the right. So often I'll talk to golfers about the club's moving in a circular motion around the golf swing. So the direction the circle's moving can only be one of three things. It can either be straight through the bottom, it can be over to the right, or it can be over to the left. So from the inside, straight, or out to in. So I said to him, right, just imagine you could swing your circle over to the right. Show me what would happen. And it actually blew his mind. He went, wow, look at that. The club path is now from the inside, but my club face is 14 degrees open, and it's still going nowhere at 111 yards. So I said, you spend all that time trying to fix the path, but what if I told you it's actually the club face we need to fix? And the fact that at the moment, as you're coming in, it's almost creating a glancing blow and adding lots and lots of loft, whereas the other way we want to feel is that we're de-lofting the golf club and actually getting the ball launching forward rather than up. And he went, okay, but I'm not really sure from there how I would actually get better at closing the club face. So I said, the easy one is hold the club up in front, and then just from there, all I want you to do is just close the club face. And then, well, that's really, really easy. So I said, okay, how do you close that club face? And he said, well, for me, I feel that my right hand kind of rolls a bit more on top of the shaft. And this is where every golfer's a little different. Some golfers can feel it with their lead hand, some with their trail hand. So I said, right, so your right hand, we want to feel that that right hand rolls more on top of the shaft. So I said, initially, I don't care what the path does. I just want to see the face to path as a minus number. So his first swing, he stood up. And he couldn't actually believe how much straighter the shot was. And he went, and weirdly there, my path's completely different as well. And all of a sudden it's nearly 140 yards. And I was like, okay, but as soon as you're thinking of rolling that hand, I said, when your club face is open, you're going this way. So when you roll it, the club's going down behind you, so it's easier to come in. But I said, that's great that the club face is 1 degree open, but I want the face to path on here to start with a minus. Whatever amount it is, I just want it to start with a minus. So he went, so I almost need to feel like I'm going to be like that as I hit it. Like ridiculously exaggerated. It's like, you do what you need to do to get that number. And his next one, He did swing out to in, but we suddenly saw a really big minus number with the face, so 8 degrees. And even though it was way offline, he actually said, I quite like that. I quite like seeing a ball curve that way rather than high and soft. So I said, okay, so we're going to do a few, and we probably spent 15 minutes or so getting that feel for him of that right hand feeling more on top of the shaft. And he said, right, I can see that my path has actually been a little bit better anyway, but he said, I feel like it's hard to think about getting that right hand correct and swinging over to the right. So I said a really easy way of doing that is instead of setting up perfectly square, as we all do, I said, I just want you to align your body a little bit more to the right to create the circle moving in that direction so you can focus on the club face. Because remember, the club face is the biggest influence in the golf swing. And he went, well, it feels really weird as a slicer, aiming up that right-hand side, but I know what I need to do with that club face. And I've obviously swung that a little quicker than him, but suddenly we saw a path much more to the right, the club face close, and a huge pickup in distance. And if I bring his actual numbers up from before, you can see that they were from the inside, only a smidge, closed club face, but a much longer total shot. And he went, this feels weird. He says, never ever worked on club face. Never worked on how I'm going to deliver that club face better to the golf ball. I've always worked on, am I good here, 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 here. He said, basically worked on trying to change every bit of my golf swing apart from thinking about how I deliver the club face. And I do think when I speak to golfers, very few golfers actually try and influence impact. I think they set up and then hope from a good setup that they're going to produce a good shot. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm not a huge fan of relying on hope instead of taking control of what you're doing. So we've got him aligning up that right-hand side, get a feel of that right hand being more on top of the shaft. And it just became ridiculously simple watching him hit good shot after good shot. And even though in the lesson we didn't get too much chance to hit lots and lots of different golf clubs, he went and played that day, and his feedback was he's hitting the ball longer than ever, missed a couple of shots left, which he wasn't disappointed with, but he didn't miss a single shot out to the right. So, like that mid-handicapper, if you're a guy or a lady who hits that big, high, soft, glancy cut, get better at learning how to control that club face. Then once you get there, you can set up, get the feel that you need, and start influencing the golf ball correctly and not just hoping for the best.